Alec Baldwin can't sit in this trailer and play chess. We gotta go.
Okay.
So as soon as I arrived, they said, "Is everything okay?" They said, "Fine, it's going very good." When I was there, it was going quite well. Everybody was having a very positive experience. The only exceptions were the cameramen who wanted nicer pillows in their hotel.
Okay. And that's the only complaint that you had heard the entire time. Do you know who had the weapon when that first misfire happened?
I don't know. I'm wondering if it was. I'm assuming it was Hannah.
Okay.
Hannah was always the person to handle the guns.
Okay.
I had no experience. When I would be talking about the guns, going over those details with Hannah, Sarah Zachary was also there. And every now and then Nicole was there, but they had to run the whole department. They had to gun other people. They had to arm other people. They had their work to do. But whenever I talked about guns with, in terms of my using them for the film or whatever we were going to do, the person I did that with was always Hannah. Always.
Okay.
Whoa, they want better pillows in the hotel, Hunley. That nutty camera crew, how dare they? This guy's living in luxury, but he says these chumps just want better pillows.
No, hold on. He said that he can't be playing chess in the tent or what is it? Or in the trailer.
What was that about?
Alec Baldwin. He's got to be, there. This is an independent movie. Everybody's got to move. Alec Baldwin can't be seen.
Gotta go.
I always worry when somebody talks about themselves in third person. That always is like, okay, that's interesting.
I've never done that in my life.
Well, it's like, wait, you could say the star can't be, but
right.
It's like
the lead can't be in this position,
right? But then just stating his name, it's like, okay.
But he's never heard anything from Looper, apparently. From what Looper, there's controversy whether Looper and him even spoke now.
Well, Looper only said he wanted better pillows.
Right, according to Baldwin, any complaint is better pillows is a generic phrase, I guess, Eric. For any complaint you make on a set, it's better pillows. The guy's living in
drive away, going extra hours. No, it's a couple pillows.
These guys are living in their cars with coyotes surrounding them in the middle.
Maybe that's it. He could get a body pillow for his car.
Oh, that's interesting. He's living in luxury, Baldwin, and they're living in Motel 6 on the side of the road, or in their cars, as was indicated in the transcripts.
Yeah, because apparently they were working so many hours that, by the time they got done, and it's true. I mean, film set, they're working, 12, 14 hours a day. And because they have to set everything up and tear everything down, they're there like an hour before, an hour after everyone. And that does suck. That definitely sucks.
It does. I mean, it's a low budget indie, though. That goes with the territory. And it's usually a very young crowd, like Hannah, like Sarah, and the rest of them. I mean, him and Halls were and Mamie Mitchell were probably the three senior citizens. Well, I technically, right? No, Halls is on the border, on the cusp, but
I do. I like
definitely everybody loves pillows, but I mean, if you're fighting with your assistant camera loader over the one pillow, you got a problem, especially because you got a 5:00 call time the next morning, and you just went for. In regular shoots, I think there's a 12-hour turnaround, but in these, I think that, who knows in these.
They play games with it because from what I understand, it fell just under the line of that hour drive. So it was like, oh no, you can get it in 58 minutes. It reminds me of when I was in the Army. Some son of a bitch accountant screwed our lives up because you're familiar with Barstow and Fort Irwin, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't know about Fort Irwin, but Barstow, yeah.
Okay, well, Fort Irwin is like 50-something miles from Barstow.
Okay.
Except in the middle of the highway, at about 34 miles from Barstow, there's a little piece of land that the government bought.
Which
just
is what?
Just
That's
enough. Just enough for a guard shack. And so, therefore, instead of having to pay the extra duty pay of having to drive in all that mileage, oh, no. You actually enter the fort at 34
wait a
miles.
second. The guard shack is the fort?
Well, they said that that's part of the property, so that's a
terrible.
base. That's the most.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing. These liberal producers, these Democratic liberal producers of movies, all of a sudden become these incredible anti-union people trying to screw every single person. When they're making the movie, they're trying to cut every single corner. But remember, Alec was saying they were going to go on strike, one of the unions, and Alec was he had made a video.
Oh, yeah, you go do that. I support. It's Instagram. He loves Instagram. Sure.
Right. It was such a great contrast, that video versus the reality on the ground where they're saying F you with your pillows. That's why I mentioned the pillows, was because of that incredible support from him. In other words, it's all rhetoric. It's all rhetoric.
By the way, that reminds me of something. You had found that video on somebody else's channel, and I have access to all these videos. Put it out there to everyone. Is that something you'd like me to put up on Locals? All these videos for you guys to check it out, because that seems like a good, benefit. We can put it up on Locals for you. You can watch every police interview that Alec Baldwin has done.
What is this thing with Locals? You're saying it's...
You can see it right under my name, right there. You go unstructured.
Okay, all right. So we
go there. You can follow.
Eric and I have this Locals thing where we put up secret information, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Sometimes it's secret, sometimes it's not. It's just added content. I do a weekly show.
Right. So when you join Locals, you're in the inside of the tent with all kinds of secret benefits that the people on the outside don't really have access to.
Something like that, yes.
Okay, just trying to
understand. Anybody can follow us for free, and there's still benefits, even if you're not a paid supporter.
Are you telling me Alec Baldwin can go on the Locals thing and post?
Of course he would.
I didn't know that.
I would. He's more than welcome. And by the way, we've got a few comments, apparently, that people are saying, hey, what about this Seth guy? Seth Kinney keeps talking to you. It's like, yeah, Seth Kinney's involved. He's talking to me. I have reached out to Hannah. I have heard through a third source, and I've heard directly from her one time. I'd love to have Hannah. Hannah, come on, talk to us.
Yeah, that would be great.
Anybody here, Dave Halls, please.
What about Bowles? What about Hannah's lawyer, Bowles? What about him?
I will welcome Sleepy to the show anytime.
Sleepy John Estes. What about Sleepy John Estes coming on?
Sure, why not? And obviously, if Alec Baldwin wants to, anybody involved.
I just want to read a statement from Bowles now that you mention his name, because there's a statement that he made that I believe is pertinent to the case with the civil suit. And I was going to bring this up with you. The civil suit, which people are thinking is the end of the case, is actually designed, in my humble opinion, the timing of it was to throw a time bomb at the DA's office saying, look, we're going to humiliate you. We've settled this case among ourselves. Drop the charges. This is not invented by this law firm. This is done quite often. And that's the reason that they settled the suit this week. In other words, it's not a coincidence, you people at home. So anyone who thinks this is over, that civil suit settlement, the timing of it, was designed to drive a dagger into the DA's office's case and the special prosecutor, Andrea Reeb. They're not buying that, and they're going to proceed, which is normally the case, as was the statement. Remember that we read last week. That civil suits are this, and
I don't know that we read it. I think it came out right after.
Well, let me read it so we know where we are, because that's really important that we have this on the record just for the show, because what we're talking about here is a statement. Hold on, I want to read the Bowles thing in a second. The statement from the DA's office. Now, I have a couple of more statements that I've been getting across the transom in the past couple of hours, so I'm going to read those too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. This is kind of breaking. So
I've got more, but it may not be cleared for this episode, so I might have to push out to the future.
Right. Okay. The deadline. This is from the DA's office.
While you're looking, by the way, everyone. Robert couldn't do today. Robert is on next week.
Oh, right. Yeah, we should tell him that. Yeah.
So he'll definitely be on next Friday. He's been bogged down. I think he just flew something like a 3-hour flight that turned into 12 hours in 6 airports or something like that. I don't even remember. He's all over the place. But he'll be here next week. And we also know that Ricada is back online, and we're thrilled to hear that. It is awesome that people can gather together, put pressure on using Twitter and everything else, and make things happen. So,
okay,
keep
so
that in mind.
Right, thank you. Here's a statement from Heather Brewer, who is now my contact at the DA's office, which is really great. She's working closely with us at America's Untold Stories, so we have a good contact there.
Nice.
That's right, my friend. We're not sitting around all week doing cooking shows. Okay, here's a quote. The proposed settlement announced today in Matthew Hutchinson's wrongful death case against Rust movie producers, including Alec Baldwin, and the death of Halyna Hutchins, will have no impact on District Attorney Mary Carmack Altweiss's ongoing investigation or her ultimate decision whether to file criminal charges in the case. While civil suits are settled privately and often involve financial awards, criminal cases deal only in facts. If the facts and the evidence warrants criminal charges against New Mexico law, then charges will be brought. Now, here's the kicker. No one is above the law. Now, this was a direct dagger to you-know-who. No one is above the law. I mean,
sure.
Sarah Zachary above the law? No. Obviously, Balls? No.
It was Hannah. It was Hannah. They were telling Hannah to straighten her out because obviously Hannah's had him over the barrel.
Now, I wanted to get into this thing with Bowles because Bowles, Slippy John Bowles, Jason Bowles is the attorney for Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who served as the armor on Rust. Okay, now here's what I'm trying to tell you. This settlement is time to attempt to end the investigation by the DA. And it may well do that. I mean, the DA could come out tomorrow and say justice has been done.
Right.
And we don't know.
Say, everybody got paid. People got a little bit of.
That's right.
You know what? We'll just let it go.
We're going to let it go. And I'll tell you something. I wouldn't be surprised if it went that way at all. I really wouldn't, because they may be working together. All these Democrats. You know what I mean? They may all have their hands together. Don't keep in mind what's coming up in a few days. The midterm elections. So these are political animals also. So
she's running for attorney general too. So which way is going to benefit her on that? So I don't know. I mean.
Okay, so Jason Bowles, who is not involved in this civil suit, right?
No, he's got his own with Hannah.
Against Seth, right? Jason Bowles, an attorney for Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who served as the armor on Rust, said they hope the settlement is recognized as a quote, measure of justice. Now, let me read you the full quote because this is going to verify what I just said. Hannah is grateful that this settlement will benefit the Hutchins family and that the parties were able to constructively resolve the civil lawsuit. Okay, wait, it gets better. We, I guess the two of them, are hopeful that the district attorney's office, get it, will also recognize that a measure of justice has been achieved in regards to this tragic accident. And that they will opt not to pursue criminal charges. He just pulled what Sam Harris did. He said what shouldn't have been said out loud, Bowles. They did not want this to be in the public sphere, in print. And that's why he has pulled a Sam Harris here by saying what's on everybody's mind and trying to achieve is the dropping of criminal charges because of the settlement of a bizarre civil lawsuit that now has the widow of the dead cinematographer as the executive producer on the film. If we could
let's see how much ink that really gets, though. But let's see how far his quote spreads. I bet you it just doesn't really go that far.
I know, but that's why I brought it up on the show, because it's meaningful to me. As I immediately perceived, this civil settlement, the timing of it was designed to head off the DA's charges. Now you say to yourself, well, it's possible the DA's charges have taken 10 years to bring to fruition. I mean, were they waiting for the civil lawsuit to be settled? Let me reverse it. Was the DA's office in Santa Fe waiting for this before they can announce we're dropping all charges against the defendants? Is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know. And the thing is, she referred it to a special prosecutor, though. and we'll see if the special prosecutor actually lets it go.
Well, that's if they charge. Now,
Sure.
let's get into the charges, because we're not here for no reason. We're here to examine the case in episode 412 here. This is from Heather again. So I asked Heather Brewer, the DA spokesperson, what is it? What are the laws down in New Mexico about negligent homicide? Like you and I were discussing in the middle of the week. Let's find out what the actual laws are. Are these people going to be charged with first degree, second degree, third degree, fourth degree negligent homicide? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know. And she wrote back, here it is. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here is the breakdown of New Mexico law. And then we'll get into what they're going to be charged with, if indeed the four, including Alec Baldwin, are charged. Okay, number one. Here's the information you're talking about, Mark. Let me know if you need anything else. Okay, New Mexico law includes first-degree murder. That's number one. First-degree murder is a life sentence, automatic. Judge can't intervene. Okay. Number two, second-degree murder, 15 years in prison. Number three, voluntary manslaughter is 6 years in prison. And number four is involuntary manslaughter, which is 18 months in jail.
That's it too. That's the charge. That's
right,
the worst
That's going to be the charge.
Lot.
Right. Okay. Some states have first, second, and third degree negligent homicide. Not in New Mexico. Only a first degree, a mandatory sentence, meaning the first one, which is the life sentence. That's not being allowed to be tampered with by a judge. The rest murders are at the judge. I'm reading her thing here. It says the rest murders are at the judge's discretion. Okay, so you could be found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And she adds on, hold on, one more thing. She adds on in a separate email late last night. I forgot one key point. Only involuntary manslaughter involves negligence. So that's where we are. We're in the involuntary manslaughter is their negligence world. That's their negligent homicide in their language in New Mexico. So involuntary manslaughter, 18 months will cover everyone, in my humble opinion, if they're indicted. Everyone will be, I doubt that there's going to be a voluntary manslaughter charge here. But maybe there is. I don't know. That's 6 years. But I'm thinking that they will be charged with involuntary manslaughter. Yeah. And right, Eric?
Well, and the thing is, too, even if they conclusively find out from where the ammo came, I think that's probably the charge, even for that person. Because
that would be involuntary, too.
Right, because it was not intentional. I don't think anybody
would say sabotage angle.
Sabotage would be possible, but intentional. But yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. In other words, if they find Looper's DNA, this is just speculation.
We don't believe Looper did anything.
No, I'm not saying he did. I'm saying if ex-cameraman's DNA was found on the shell casings, that might bring something like voluntary or second degree. I don't know even there, but
yeah, it could be. But yeah, in the state it is right now, because unless they may have more than we know. I mean, they could be holding back.
I'm assuming they have more than we know.
I hope they do.
I hope they do at this point, with the FBI involved and, so many state police units involved and the DA's office involved. I'm assuming they haven't showed their whole hand. If they have 4 trials, they're going to show their hand in the first trial. Mm-hmm. That's why Baldwin is saying, I'll go last. Thank you. In this musical chairs game of who's going to sit down when the music stops, I would want to go last if indeed there are charges against him, right? And we have to presume, for the sake of argument, that the 4 people are going to be charged. Now, who are the 4, Eric?
I'm just going by, my first guess would be whoever has physical evidence, be it DNA and fingerprints.
Right.
The alternate would be those who are responsible for what happened on the set, which could bring in the director and the line producer.
Okay.
As a possible.
Right.
I think that no matter what way you go, Dave Halls, Alec Baldwin, and Hannah Gutierrez-Reed are at risk. The 4th is the revolving door. It'd be Sarah Zachary. If you got physical evidence, Gabriel Pickle, maybe.
Right.
Sousa, maybe.
Maybe.
Probably would be Sarah Zachary, but also we don't know that they will all be homicide charges. There could be a neglect charge, or I mean, there's probably other charges that could be,
well,
given that I don't know about.
In terms of murder, she seems to indicate here that involuntary manslaughter is the place where this is all falling into. Somebody's dead. I mean, obviously, it's got to revolve around death. You know what I mean? So that gets you into a manslaughter, and they only have 4 categories of manslaughter on the books in the state of New Mexico, unless we find a lawyer from New Mexico, I think.
But I can't see that. I don't know if they would just say all of them get the same charge. It would. I'm not sure how the culpability goes, but I have a feeling it's some are more and some are less. So how is that going to be dispersed?
Charge all 4 at the beginning with the same charge under New Mexico law, and then sort it out in trial, and then the judge.
Why?
Because they don't have any other statutes here that I see. What else are they going to be charged with?
I mean, you could be charging somebody for negligence. You could for improper.
They don't have negligence. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They don't have.
No. But I'm saying that. Okay, let's say that Sarah Zachary, she threw out some blank ammo or something, right?
Right.
That could be seen as interfering with an investigation and have nothing to do with the others, and that could still be a charge.
Okay.
So I'm saying there's nothing stating that they'll all automatically get some version of a homicide charge. I don't know.
Okay, well, that's what it seems like to me. But okay, now what about was something I was going to ask? Oh yeah, about the permits. Remember we were talking about the film picking up in January. That insanity there's so much insanity here.
Yeah, we have fun with this.
All of a sudden, I'm reinvigorated with this goddamn case. But now I can't wait to get down to Santa Fe and be outside the courthouse when this thing starts, so we can do a live remote. You know what I mean? This is getting so much fun, Hunley, that the case has now come back to being exciting again. So I asked her about OSHA, the New Mexico OSHA, which cited them and said you're going to have to pay $137,000, I think, in fees and fines, rather. And they said if we could make a higher charge.
Right, that was the highest available.
Right, they said we would have gone higher, but state law prevents us from going any higher than the 137. Okay. So how does this same film crew that was cited for all these safety violations all of a sudden reassemble, and OSHA says okay or not okay or whatever?
Well, it gets better than that, because I'm like, okay, so is Hannah back as the armor in January?
I don't know, but I asked them about film permits. That was the first. That's
right.
what I'm going with this. So what she told me was the state is not involved in issuing the permits. It's local regional permits, which I found to be an unusual statement. So I'm going to reach out to OSHA for a comment despite this. Well, she's right. It is local. But if you have the film shooting 10 miles away while the former cast and crew is on trial as defendants in the same film, in the same state, at the same time, that's a little awkward politically and socially, I would think, Eric. Right?
Well, it's weird. I mean, technically, I guess speaking, Baldwin's the only person who's not replaceable.
Right, but it's the same film company. I mean, Pickle's replaceable. They're all replaceable, obviously.
Right.
But for continuity's sake, the actors have to be the same. That's what
but none of them have anything against them. As far as I know, there's never been any question about any of the actors,
right?
Other than Baldwin.
Okay, how about Sousa? I mean, what about him? Is he untouchable?
You can get another director. Happens all the time.
Right. Well, it is possible. It is possible. And we found out that more from something in a bottle that Hunley uncovered on the shoreline, I think, that more than half of the film has not been shot. Is that correct, Eric, from what you're understanding?
Less than half is in the can.
Okay, so you're going to have to shoot 2/3 of a movie with continuity. I don't know what January means in terms of starting up again, but they're trying to get 3 or 4 weeks of shooting in January to wrap this up.
Well, it's even worse too, because correct me if I'm wrong. From what I have seen, the parts that have been shot are not like the action sequences. I mean, a lot of the really heavy, like to say, gunfire stuff has yet to come, and that's the most expensive, difficult part of the entire shoot, isn't it?
I believe the shoot itself is another way to intimidate the DA's office. to embarrass them into being in an uncomfortable position, which I just described. I think that itself was another attempt to intimidate the district attorney into dropping the charges, to avoid what I just and you just described as a possibly extremely awkward scenario of this film being shot while trials are going on, and a circus is what they're really threatening. Because if this film picks up in January, the press from around the globe is going to Santa Fe, New Mexico to cover the trial. And I'll be one of them. I'll be. I was going to say, no. I'll be there with the Lord Buckley press credentials, and they will be going back and forth. They'll have to set up. I mean, this is why they did this, Eric. This is why they did this. There's no rush to finish this film. You know what I mean? Like, what is it? Waiting for the Cannes Film Festival or something? This is a $5 million low budget indie that's going to end up on Netflix anyway, or Amazon, even with the best of times. If nothing happened, that's where this thing was going, right?
Yeah, but now there's enough interest in it that I think it'll get a theatrical release.
I doubt that. I doubt that.
Really?
Oh yeah, because the theatrical release, you need P&A. The P&A's got to be almost twice the budget. Or equal to the budget, just roughly rule of thumb, with a Hollywood studio, even an indie. In other words, you would have to have $5 million in prints and advertising to have a theatrical release. That's not going to happen. So what they're going to do is try to sell it in some marketplace, and somebody will pick it up. But even that is not going to generate any money. Whoever buys this is going to buy this for basically the cost of the film, $5 million, which I forget what the budget was, 5, 6, somewhere in there.
Right.
And I don't know. Let's get into Matthew Hutchins. How does he get a revenue stream? Nobody knows how much.
I think he got his revenue stream.
Well, we don't know how much that is. Is that why Baldwin was shuffling real estate to make that payment?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's my speculation. By the way, I know not everybody wants to hear everything coming in, but I am getting tipped right now that 50% of the movie was filmed, but only one more scene of gunfire. So I was incorrect. Okay. Most of the gunfire has already happened. It's almost all cold guns except for the church shootout. So
but someone else said close to the film that they hadn't reached 50% of the film shooting. Am I correct?
No, they didn't reach 50%. But if they've got the gunfire part, I think that's probably.
That I don't know about. Yeah, that I don't know about.
And church scene was the last blank gunfire. Everything else is cold guns.
Right.
That's significant if that's done, because isn't that the most difficult and expensive?
I don't know. I mean, I looked at we can bring the script out and put our cowboy hats on again, Eric, and do some other parts of the movie.
Everybody loves that.
Everybody loves when we do the reenactment of the film, but there might be huge crowd scenes that are a problem, Eric. There may be a scene with the town where you're dragging a guy with a noose around his neck on a horse through town. I'm just making this up. I'd have to look at the script again, where there's 150 people in the town. And that takes 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
Shooting is not really it is complicated, but there's other stunts involved in this picture. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what they've shot and what they have to shoot. But the point of the matter is, the idea of going back there in January, I assume, what's the weather in New Mexico in January, Hunley?
Actually there, I think it snows.
Right. That's what I thought.
Albuquerque, I believe it does. I don't know Santa Fe that well. I'm not.
Well, first of all, they're outside of Santa Fe by X amount of miles.
Right, but I think it's probably closer to the mountain there. I don't know.
Okay, but we're gonna have to look into that. And when I get there with my Parker on, you'll see the temperature in January when I'm covering the trial.
I know you're brave. You go to Dallas and then
I don't care. I go.
No.
I am like I said. I learned all this from Hunter Thompson. Immersion journalism. I didn't invent it, but that's what I love, is getting in there and throwing Gonzo is really what I learned from Hunter Thompson and some others like Tom Wolfe, obviously, with Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, and Thompson. I mean, those are my idols as a journalist. I didn't like just sitting there, calling people on,
especially the imbibing part, right?
Yeah, the imbibing part, going in there, mixing it up. All of a sudden, you're part of the goddamn story. You're undercover. Now the major news periodicals, as they're finding out with Project Veritas, they don't want undercover journalism. They don't tolerate it, nor will they accept it at the LA Times, for instance. It's now editorially banned. And if I go undercover and find out there's a nuclear bomb in Hunter Biden's bedroom in Malibu, and I posed as a gardener to get that story, the LA Times will not accept it. And I don't mean because it's Hunter Biden. I mean because I went undercover as the gardener. Think about that.
Well, you got into that because of your undercover work in rehabs, right?
Right.
They stopped saying they were supporting you.
Right. I mean, it's really weird, but it's almost like they're saying we're in power and we're going to not allow the power to be taken from us. But that's another day, another story. Getting back to this thing, because there's another memo I've gotten now, this just coming across the transom this morning. So maybe we can get into that a little bit. Does anybody else have these memos? I mean, who is covering the story other than us? I haven't looked around.
I don't know if Goodman's still doing it. And then you have that other dude. I forgot his name. He's kind of he's a South African from Netherlands, or he lives in South Africa. He's from Netherlands, something like that.
Oh, that I don't know.
True crime, real time, or something.
But I mean, do they have these things that we have with these breaking news segments and stuff? I mean, it seems like this story that there would be more people covering it, but I guess we're the tip of the spear. Well, screw them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so Hunley and
chat will let us know.
Right, the chat knows. The chat knows. So Hunley and I were discussing how she indicts the 4 defendants. Is there a grand jury? Eric asked. Is there a secret grand jury?
That's the other one. True crime, rocket science.
Rocket science. I don't know what that is. But like Eric raised a question, then we thought about it last night. How does she get from here to there in terms of legal steps? That right, Eric? That was kind of what we were raising.
Yeah, I wanted to know what's the procedure for a grand jury, or do they use a grand jury? Is this relevant to here?
Well, sometimes the secret grand jury is impaneled already, right?
I think they are all the time.
Let me point something out. The Soros people are opposed to secret grand juries. They are opposed to the grand jury process. And I've learned that here in LA. Yes, they've been trying to do away with this for a long time. You know why? They don't want 13 or 12 citizens sitting there in a room making a decision that they could make themselves. That's why they're opposed to grand juries.
It's a weird one, though, because I can see both sides of that.
Yes.
One, because I don't like star chambers.
Right.
And I can see the argument saying that it's a star chamber. People are deciding things without nobody knowing. But then there's the flip side saying, well, there's a lot of cases out there that don't muster being prosecuted. And if they're determined to be tossed in a secret setting, people's lives aren't ruined for a bullshit case. So I could see.
Right. There's also the flip side where they say, like with Jim Garrison, he impaneled a secret grand jury, and they've always said that you can indict a ham sandwich is the phrase, right?
And that's the joke. Yeah.
That's the joke about a grand jury. However, the grand jury serves as a representative of the people to stop someone like a Gasson. You know what I mean? To stop somebody who's a psycho runaway Krasner in Philadelphia. So they don't like grand juries. They don't like grand juries. And
right. They like all the power in their hands.
Right.
You're right about the ham sandwich. That's true.
Right.
But there are some cases that don't get out of grand jury too, that even though they'd convict a ham sandwich, they won't do that case. It's worse than a ham sandwich.
Right. So I don't know, and you don't know, and we don't know if they've impaneled a secret grand jury or not. That was
there's trivia for you.
Mama Cass died choking on a ham sandwich. Right. Well, that's true because.
So was it indicted?
Well, it was kosher and non-kosher. I think she was a Jewish woman, Mama Cass. I could be wrong.
Oh.
Maybe she shouldn't have been eating pork. However, that's an episode for another show. But getting back to our situation here with the grand jury, what Eric and I wanted to know is what's the next step? What happens now? Are they going to drop the indictment news or release or story or revelation on Monday or today? Again, it could be on Friday. Once again, we don't know. But something is going to give from their office. Okay, that we know. So how does this happen? Like we said, do they, what do they do? Okay, so I reached out to the DA's office with a summary of what we just said. Here's the response. Okay. This is unusual. So I just thought this just came in over the transom. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From the Santa Fe DA's office. This is to me from Heather Brewer. Dig this, man. Due to COVID, grand juries remain suspended in New Mexico, Hunley. You didn't see that coming, did you? Neither did I.
Isn't that perfect? It's COVID.
Oh, it's really perfect.
COVID for a grand.
Right. There can't be no grand juries. Wait. If the district attorney decides to move forward, if she does, God knows if she will, she's only had a year to think about it. But if she decides to move forward, she would use a quote unquote preliminary hearing process, Eric. And now I'm going to have to write her back after the show and find out what that is, which, now dig this, man, I'll read this again, which is like a mini trial, Hunley, and is in keeping with her commitment to openness and transparency in this and all cases she handles. Now, how much bullshit does that sound like to you? Does your bullshit meter just go off like mine did from that paragraph?
Well, I'm wondering when the grand juries get back to work. Somehow, I think they'll forever be dissolved. I am familiar with preliminary hearings. Yes, those happen all the time. Right. But interesting that. You know what? It's COVID. You know, it's like, well, you know, the kids are back in school. Everybody's going back to work. People are taking off their masks.
And have a grand jury.
You know what? They're letting people into Canada, for God's sake. But can't have a grand jury in Santa Fe.
I did not see that coming. I
guess we should have. In all fairness, we should have. Considering that COVID helped cause the damn thing to begin with the protocols.
But also the George Soros opposition to grand juries. Right? So what are they going to use? Saying we're just not going to use a grand jury? No, we're going to use the COVID meter. That's right, because if you put 12 or 13 people in a room, God knows what could happen. They could have intercourse in there. Yeah. They could get monkeypox. They can't be allowed in one room.
I know.
Okay, that's weird. I just want to say it right now. That is a weird answer to that question. And I am going to ask her what the mini trial is. The mini trial. It's kind of like the mini Coke. It's like the mini Diet Coke. The mini trial is a miniature public grand jury or something?
Well, no, it's a preliminary hearing is to test the evidence, whether there's enough case to have a full trial.
Right. Okay. So for 1 year, they've not done that.
Correct.
Okay. So that's
not uncommon. I mean, they do sometimes take a while to even do that and there's always strategy there. How much evidence do they put up in the preliminary hearing? Do they just go ahead and go through with it to get in the trial? I'm no lawyer, but I know that's one I wish we had one of our lawyers here to talk about. But
when we get to the trial stage, maybe we can interweave some attorneys or.
For sure.
Right.
Oh, they'll be on it. I mean, I guarantee Emily will be covering it already. And
right, but I want to cover it with our channel, not their channel.
Yeah.
We're the ones who've been doing this for 65 years now. So I think we've earned out.
Episode 27.
I know, but I feel like I've been doing it my whole life now with this story.
You know what's ironic is this was just a one-off thing. You're like, you know what? I've worked film sets. This is interesting. Why don't we talk about it?
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't think it was going to go this far. We just thought it'd be funny. Because I kind of knew the lay of the land, and maybe this would, be a one-off, right, Eric? I mean, we did not see this being 3 episodes, let alone 23. Okay, so I asked them, okay, let's say they're indicted. How do you get them into the state? How do you get them? Do you get an extradition from the governor? I mean,
technically speaking,
come on.
I don't think that they have to attend their trial. They can be convicted in absentia.
Okay. Do they? Okay. What about?
But if they're busy filming, they'll be nearby.
Okay. Okay. So you have to book them. You have to book them. You got to print them. You got to book them. You got to photograph them.
Well, they've already printed all of them. We have that.
Right. But I'm saying this is indicted now. You're indicted. You have to show up for the indictment. It's a legal matter. You can't just phone it in. I don't think.
People are convicted in absentia all the time. It does happen. I mean, Polanski's been convicted. Others have. I mean, if they don't come, they don't come. You can ask, and you can say, "Hey, New York, can you do us a solid, whatever." But
Polanski is a hunted animal. A lot of these guys have bounties on their heads.
Yeah, complete with an Oscar. He gets an Oscar while he's hunting.
An absentia Oscar. He doesn't show up at the Oscars because
he's got a trial and an Oscar absentia.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, let's say they indict the 4. A couple of them live there, right? Or no? Zachary lives there.
Zachary does.
Right. Wait a
Hannah lives in Arizona.
Lives in Arizona, so she would have to be extradited.
Halls lives in LA area, I think. Baldwin lives in New York, and yeah, I mean everybody's out of state except for Sarah.
That's why I asked the question. Now here's the answer. You ready? Okay, now I'll get to the bottom of it. Anyone, this is again from the DA's office, anyone out of state who might be charged, Hunley, would be summoned to New Mexico. If they don't respond to the summons, there could be a request for a warrant. So a warrant for their arrest would be issued unless they respond to the summons.
Right. But it'd be sort of like Baldwin's phone. Maybe you'll get it.
I don't know. I mean, it's an arrest warrant. I mean, I think that
I understand it, but
right. I mean, they would have to have an extradition from the Democratic governor of the state of New York in the election season for one of their biggest supporters. Yeah, that's why I raised the question. That's why I did.
Yeah, no, and it would be one of two things: either they get New York to, or they would fly their own police to New York. That'd be part of that budget, by the way, to go pick them up, escorted by the local police, because I believe they'd have to report in and say, "Hey, we are here to arrest fill in the blank," and then go with the local police to do that, and then escort them back to the plane and take them back. The reason
I mention it is because when we were covering Jim Garrison, he issued warrants and subpoenas for X amount of witnesses for his case, and every governor in the country refused extradition to Garrison, the attorney, the district attorney of New Orleans. This is not an unsimilar situation. They're both district attorneys of states, of cities, and both issued warrants, and the governors refused, obviously deep state operations with Garrison, but there's deep state all over this thing too. So the reason I mentioned the Jim Garrison is a reference point for me, because I know what the frustration was for him and Mark Lane and Mort Saul back in the day trying to extradite these witnesses from California in particular and other states where they lived. Some of them fled New Orleans and went to those states. Yeah, as I recall, some of them fled. So I don't know if Sarah's going to flee and then you've got a fugitive on the run, or how
somehow I don't think she will. From all I get, I mean, if you look at the correspondence, even never mind Seth, just look at the correspondence. She
okay. Then let's flip the script. Let's say Baldwin shows up. Right? Imagine that pig circus media was.
Oh, I guarantee there will be people attending.
Okay,
I just hope that they stream it.
Right, that's the reverse. If I'm there, I will be streaming, obviously, with you. But the circus, the media circus, to have him, is there a perp walk? Is he printed? Is he handcuffed? I mean, these are the questions that have to be answered. And then the special prosecutor is involved, and the DA is stepping out of this thing.
The thing is, I don't know necessarily that somebody has to be perp walked if they are indicted. They can be indicted.
Well, they do in New York. I mean, certain cities love doing it.
Oh, I know they love doing it, but again, it all depends. I mean, again, they could say, they're released on their own recognizance. They could determine that ahead of time. They can negotiate that and say, okay, your trial date is here. You better be here for your trial.
Again, I go back to the original phrase, no one is above the law. I think that was put in there because they've been embarrassed. As you pointed out, they've been humiliated. The sheriff's department has been humiliated. They've been shown to be, not that they are, they've been put up as rubes and all this slander. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a perp walk. The reason I'm mentioning the perp walk. Because, perp walks, usually like Son of Sam in high profile cases, they'll do a perp walk and a media thing. But also, if the department has been embarrassed by the person or the lawyers for the person, they'll do a perp walk. You know what I mean? So he could be released on his recognizance, but nevertheless, having him showing up for booking, they're going to fight that tooth and nail, his lawyers. They're going to fight it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, they are going to. And then strategically speaking, as long as everybody's taken, this settlement is a good move on their part.
Well, the timing of the settlement, getting back to Matthew Hutchins being the executive producer, can you explain that?
Kind of odd.
Kind of odd. The guy's in a corporate law firm in LA. I'd say it's kind of odd.
Yeah, agree. I mean, that corporate law firm, which happens to be about as deep state of a pattern as you've ever seen if you looked at his LinkedIn,
right?
Because he's like, what is it? He's been at 3 of like the biggest law firms in the country and short tenures in each.
Well,
which is
and
very
also
weird.
dealing in Eastern Europe and Ukraine and copyright and setting up buying companies. Right. He's the guy who goes and clears the legality of buying a company in Ukraine. I mean, dude, I don't have a tinfoil hat on, but I mean, don't forget the father was the head of the Soviet submarine fleet. You know what I mean? Like, and they came out of the Ukraine, and she went to the Daily Mail doing sex slaves of the Soviet Union for the BBC. Let's not forget the past, nor we will repeat it. Where this story started with me and Hunley, going all the way back to episode 3, right, Eric?
Right. Really quickly, this is getting distracting for me. Chat. If you spam the freaking chat and you get on the nerves, a mod may shut you down or something else or put you in timeout. We're not asking anybody to block, but just stop spamming, stop doing all caps, stop sending the garbage. I don't need to hear about yentas and everything else all the time.
Right. I don't know what's going on.
Just cool out. It's distracting and it doesn't help me do the show. So if the moderators choose to do it, I totally support them in this. So, and if you don't like me, tough shit.
What the hell's going on over there? Let's go back to the show. So Hunley,
yes. I just want to let them know that.
All right. I don't read it, so I don't know. I'm just over here in another place. But the reality of it is the father never showed up in the United States, as you recall, Eric, right? Matthew had gone over there and somehow hooked up with this woman originally and married her. I don't know how that, I don't go off into the Ukraine to meet girls, but people who do.
Hold on. You did invite them. You said you have a big home. And
right.
If they weren't, if they were having problems.
Right. But traditionally, what's that show? Maybe in the chat.
90 Day Fiance.
90 Day Fiance. This is what Hutchins did. Okay. So he got this bride, brought her back, had a kid. She went to film school because why wouldn't she? She's already making documentaries in England about the Soviets. And she does what she does. She becomes a cinematographer and makes literally a short film. And I don't even think she had a feature under her belt. Anyway, maybe she had one feature under her belt. But they're making it seem like, that she was the greatest cinematographer of all time. She may well have become that, but she had a very short career, unfortunately. So Matthew Hutchins was involved in some sort of business. I remember where he was the CEO of some sort of commercial business. I don't know if it was. He bourbon. It was bourbon.
Well, that was one of them, but he was also an Indian distribution company.
Oh, right. That's right.
And we have an Indian producer on the movie, by the way. Remember?
Right. The Indian producer is on there. That nefarious cat, who's now the partner with Alec Baldwin in a new company.
For new movies that include one in November, right? With the CIA or something.
Yeah.
The office station chief or something.
Chief, yeah. Wow, this is really interesting. So Baldwin is not exactly done with his career. Let's just put it at that, leave it at that.
Well, he's filmed 3 movies? Oh, he's got 2 Christmas movies with Billy or one of the other Baldwins. So he's already done at least 2 or 3.
Right.
And we've got the one scheduled in. I don't know. What is that, next month?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, well, the January one is less than, November, December, January. This thing's 2.5 months away, refilming Rust. Somebody said they're going to change the name. I mean, why would you change the name? You got more name recognition than you could ever get on a million years. Are you kidding?
And there is precedent, by the way. The Crow did get finished.
I know. And they didn't change the name to the Bird, did they?
No.
They kept the name.
I think they kept it the Crow. Yeah.
Right. This is not going to be a bad paint job. This is going to be Rust, no matter what anybody.
And I'm not trying to be cynical, but they also brought Brandon Lee's name up above the title too. When that happened, Brandon Lee in the Crow last. and it is a tragedy. But
let me tell you something else. Whoever comes on as DP has got to match the lighting and cinematography style of her, which is not so freaking easy.
Keep Serge on there.
Right. Serge may come back. Yeah. Simply because of the lighting.
If you can get Serge on there, because he worked with her on every movie.
He's going to have his case settled then. Serge,
very likely.
His case is going to have to be taken care of, and somebody.
I haven't heard one word about his case.
Because it takes 5 years. That's why.
Well, it does, but you know what? Again, though, this helps with all the cases, because how is Mamie Mitchell going to say my huge losses when you compare it to the widower of the person who died?
Let me ask you,
takes a lot of steam out.
You think she'll come back?
Oh, God only knows that. Can you imagine the meeting in the lunchroom between David Halls and Mamie Mitchell on the return? That would be the movie.
Well, how do you not come back? Why would you be fired?
I don't know.
You would have a liability claim if you're fired from finishing this film. For what reason? Mm-hmm. We don't like you. We don't like you. I mean, what's their legal reason for firing you now?
Okay, so Hannah comes back.
Right. I mean, Hannah would have to come back.
This is
going to get interesting. I don't know. I mean, you could say that she doesn't want to come back. Okay, that's fine. But what if Paul says, I need the money. I want to redeem myself. I didn't do anything wrong. Go screw yourself. I'm coming back.
Actually, we want Seth Kinney to be the armorer. I think he's qualified.
I think Seth has to come out of the office in the store, in the warehouse, and get back into the field. I know.
That's right. He'd get off his ass and get on the set.
Seth
wants to be on the set.
I think Seth made this quote, hates production more than Seth Kinney.
And therefore, he should be on the set just so he can report to us from the site. I think
he hates production. You know why? Because it's a kid's game. It really is. Yeah,
I know. Seth is as old as we are.
It's grueling. I had to bail out. The location manager, when I got out of film school, like I said, I did location managing because I wanted to learn production. I didn't care about being a location manager, but man, is that a harsh job. That is grueling. Whoever does it, tip of the hat. It is a grueling freaking job. You got to be the first one on the set and the last one off every day. First and the last. They could say whatever they want about lighting and stars. The last one to show up are the stinking stars. They show up 11 a.m. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But you got to be there at 4 a.m., depending on the call.
Well, the camera people and location person.
They don't get there until you open the set. They come later. You're there by yourself.
So you're the Dunkin' Donuts. Time to open the set.
Right. It's brutal. It is brutal, man. No wonder it's so not talked about, because it is.
Okay, well, I nominate Seth, because obviously everyone listens to me. So Seth, you're gonna have to get your ass on the set and be a armorer.
Can you wear a wire and a mic so he can talk?
I think so. I mean, obviously he won't be on camera.
Right.
Jerk.
There's one point in that dialogue with Alec Baldwin at the beginning where he says that Hannah was outside like she's supposed to be, and sometimes they're in the doorway, blocking the doorway. They're not allowed inside, rightfully so. He doesn't mention the COVID protocols at all, because she should have been right next to the camera.
I agree. He
doesn't mention that. He just says they're outside until
he's also confusing about Hannah, but then later Dave Halls. So it's just I still don't know on that one how it's very coincidentally changed up.
Well, again now, I mean, does Bowles boldly drop the Hannah suit if he believes that the suit, the civil settlement, is so wonderful? Will he drop his suit against Seth Kinney?
That's really a good question. Because,
Thank you, Hunley.
Because here's the beauty of it. If he wants his to go away, suits work both ways.
Right.
There's a lot of discovery involved. So he may just say, Hannah, let's just ride under here. And
you and I have read those text messages, Eric. They're quite dicey.
Yes.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of drinking going on. There's a lot
of weed going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on in those. They're quite interesting to read. I mean, I don't know if you want them read in open court.
No, especially if you're trying to fly under the radar and not get charged. If you're trying to say, look, justice, go away, that would be the craziest thing in the world, because I can see them trying to bring everybody back literally to say, look, see, we're getting along. We're going to do good. Look. We're going to be the picture of perfect safety now. Watch us.
Well, I think Bowles is going to try to make this go away. That's why he said that.
Well, if he has any talent whatsoever and wants to protect a client, I would think that, yeah. I mean, what does she have? I mean, and I don't know if Seth is rich or not. I have a feeling he's probably not all that rich. I mean, he's working movie sets.
Well, he's got a business. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, but his business is what? Renting things out and transferring stuff.
No, but I'm saying he has something more than somebody who's an outside contractor for a film.
Agreed.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He's got a business. I mean, he may own his own home out there. I mean, he's got deeper pockets than the people who are suing him.
Well, yes, I get the impression that everyone has deeper pockets than Hannah.
Well, Sarah Zachary probably doesn't, because she's also heir to the Thel fortune.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Heir to, and Thel's not a well man. You know, he's very old, and he could eventually going to leave everything. I mean, he may have the greatest gun collection of ancient, incredible.
No, you're right. Well, even if he doesn't, just they're his guns, that adds an automatic value because of his name.
Right. I mean, she may be heir to that estate. So I don't know. I mean, but there's something there. There's something to play with.
Well, there we go. Again, same way that I'm determining who belongs on the set, we're working out people's estate management.
Right. We can help. If you come here, it's one-stop shopping.
That's right. We're here for
you. For the next episode, we can resolve a lot of these loose ends.
I know. Save a lot of time, folks.
Save a lot of time. Just come on the show and we'll talk to you on how to negotiate, this unfortunate incident,
Yes. I mean, we're here for you.
But okay, the camera crew comes back, right?
Well, no, a camera crew comes back.
A camera crew.
Well, there you go. Will Lane Looper come back?
That's a good question. Here's another question. They just re-upped the unions on the COVID protocols. So again, they would have to shoot without the armor of being in zone A.
Or maybe it won't be in the church. Maybe it'll be now in a giant schoolhouse. Change the scene.
I don't think you can, because of certain continuity problems. Now think about the church shooting. You're going to have to go back into that church and pick up with, that was a rehearsal for a scene that was never shot, Eric.
Well, and that's the other question. What about the location? I mean, the location is also being sued. Are they going to be comfortable running this under suit themselves?
Well, what about OSHA? I mean,
because don't forget our medic. We have a medic lawsuit out there.
I forgot about the medic lawsuit.
And that's like everybody but Alec Baldwin. So anybody involved in the film except for him.
This whole reshoot could be a bluff. This whole thing could be a bluff. You know what I mean?
That's true.
This whole thing could be a bluff to get them to drop the charges. I got a funny feeling they may be bluffing on this thing. It's such a mega problem. But we're just touching on some of the issues. I mean, you've got Gabriel Pickle, who is representative of the production company out of Georgia. So if they replace her, they bring in somebody from Georgia, another person, another pickle. Doesn't have to be the same pickle. It could be, a dill pickle in terms of the replacement, but you still have the same production company running it. Again, they've been cited by OSHA. I guess in theory, the state OSHA could allow them, but they would then want to put a safety person on set, I would presume. OSHA.
Well, and how do I even know that all the people are going to be available?
I have no idea. I
mean, even Alec Hilary could be having a kid at the time.
Well, that's possible too. That's possible.
I mean,
they're going to have to bring in somebody who's going to have to create a line schedule, line budget just for this, and the money is going to have to reflow into the bank account of the LLC that's being involved in the criminal suit, I guess, or maybe not. That's resolved from the civil, I guess.
Wow. You know what? Let's interrupt, and we got some super chats coming in.
Oh, okay. Let's see what you got.
We got a little bit here. Just me. I'm a locals member, and it's great. Yes, please post all the stuff over there. This whole settlement is to stop Alec being charged because they can't charge anyone else if they don't charge him. I don't agree. I think that they could technically do that.
Yeah.
And I actually wouldn't be surprised if he slid out.
Oh, they mention his name, and why is Michael Hutchins? Right. Well, that's what we're getting into here. Mm-hmm. What is going on behind the scenes? I have no idea at this point. Is that ID Girl 77?
It is.
I have no idea. That it reeks. This thing just reeks of behind the scenes bizarre. I believe that he, like every other nutbag in this city, wants to be in the movie business, and I believe
there's that. And okay, to be charitable to him and not cynical. Right. It is a way to say my wife's last work is on the screen, and it could be a memorial to her.
Right.
So I want to give it to him. Give that to him.
But you don't need to be executive producer to do that. I mean, what I don't understand, the executive, just so people know at home, the executive producer is someone. It's an honorary title given to someone who brings money to the project, or someone from the studio. Could be an executive producer from the studio representing the studio. This being an indie, an executive producer, in theory, in this particular indie, in theory, would be someone who brought money to this production. I don't understand why Matthew Hutchins would be an executive producer on this project unless
he's part of the settlement. So instead, they don't have the money to give it to him, so they give him a title.
Okay, but maybe he's taking some of the settlement money and replenishing the budget to finish the film.
Could be. Okay. I don't want to get too cynical on it.
No. It might be some laundering. In other words, if they give him a $10 million settlement, and he, in that settlement, peels off $2 million for post-production on this film, he would get, and this is what I think happened, the title of executive producer. And I think
he actually would have earned the title.
That's right. That's what I think happened. Somebody structured this thing where he's putting in money. That's the only thing that makes any sense. He's taking money from that settlement as part of the deal and putting it in to finish this production. That's my guess.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. But Kat wants us to know, none of us knows how he feels. Hopefully he never will. Be kind. We're not being mean to the guy.
I mean at all. I'm not.
I mean, it's.
What is he, above reproach or something? I mean, what does he have to do with this?
I know, but Rolf is looking out for us. He wants to gifts and go for us to get a Sorcerer Apprentice hat for our own Star Chamber. You know what? Rolf did this really early in the show, so he's ahead of his time. He knew that later on we were going to be solving everybody's problem by, saying, hey, the armor is this person and this is the estate planning. So good job, Rolf. You know as well.
On the next show we're doing is on Jack Parsons, which has a lot of sorcery.
Finally.
Yeah, a lot of sorcery, a lot of magic, a lot of all kinds of sex magic, Crowley tangentially out of England. But the Jack Parsons thing is a weird LA story, I'll tell you that much, and untold. So,
and by the way, not weird.
Weird. Really weird. I've been putting this off for a while because the deeper you dig on Jack Parsons, not to get off track here, but it's going to be a good episode. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. And
we'll be wearing those wizard hats for that episode.
We didn't even think that we would be doing any stuff on Rust. This stuff just kind of.
No, right. Yeah, this is an emergency broadcasting system.
Yeah, it's insane. Okay, are you sure the hearing won't be a preliminary hearing?
Luminary hearing.
Done completely in the dark.
Wow, that's interesting. A little pun.
Yeah.
Pasha pun. Don't drink diet, you boomers. What is that?
Well, he's saying we're old. Okay.
You don't drink Diet Coke?
I do.
Sorry,
I drink Diet Pepsi.
I just got out of the trial. I will catch up later. They're on trial.
All right. Good to see you, Little Rock.
Oh, Grand Teton is fantastic. I got to go back. You could, the Jenny Lake campsite, which is next door. I think that's where Little Rock might have been, I presume, if they stayed there. But they could have been in Jackson.
True. Finishing Rust means we are helping Alec in paying the settlement.
That's true too. In a way, I don't know. I mean, he's got a back end on this thing. He had a very low front end of payment, right, Eric? But I mean,
the whole budget for the movie was like what, 6-7 million,
right? And he deferred a lot of that to the back end, which is
his salary shocked us.
What was he getting? Like 2 million or something, or 1 million?
No, we got 300,000.
Right. But it was reduced. It kept reducing. Yeah. It kept,
I mean, it's scary low, but because we were shocked. We were speculating that maybe he overcharged. It's like, no, he didn't. It was the opposite of that.
The lower that budget got, the less he took, which is pretty traditional. But I think if Hutchins is putting in part of the settlement into this movie, it may be for a theatrical. So they have P&A to do print and advertising if they want to do a theatrical. Which I doubt, but they still need money to finish the post-production on this film. And I think that's why Hutchins is the executive producer and name.
Yep. And we know that Rekieta's back.
Back. Yeah. Yep. Thank you. Well, wait a second. What was that? Go back there for a second. Did you see that number?
Yeah, that was SEK. It's another currency. I don't know if it's Swiss kroner or I don't know what SEK is.
Okay, well, it looks large. That's all I got.
It's around 20. Orange, I think it's like $20 range.
Oh, okay.
Right. But I don't know how it transfers.
Works so.
But red is big numbers.
Okay, all right. Hunley knows all these things. Okay,
Hunley's following the money, right? No,
follow the Hunley money.
Speaking of the Pope, right? I'm trying to learn the grift here.
Yeah, what was that guy doing over there? Smashing things because
it might be a Swedish kroner, maybe.
Swedish kroner. Is that like dollar for dollar or no?
Oh yeah, here we go. SE is SEK is Sweden.
Dude, we're getting funds from Sweden now, and
well, we got Scandinavia, dude. We're eventually going to go on a tour.
Yeah, I have to go back to Denmark because we have a lot of fans there. We could broadcast from Copenhagen.
Sweden's not that far. I'd be happy to go.
No, it's funny. They make jokes about Sweden. They treat them like the Polish jokes.
Well, everybody has a neighboring state. The worst place in the world has to be New Jersey because every state around New Jersey is saying that they're dumping into New Jersey.
Right.
Pennsylvania, New York. It's like, poor Jersey.
Right. But I don't know if you heard the story last night. They arrested an actress for killing her husband here in Hollywood late last night. Famous. She killed him with a kitchen utensil, apparently. And they're looking. Did you hear about this? She killed him with a utensil, and her name was like Reese Wither something. Reese Wither
You're
something.
Killing me. Oh my god.
Wither something.
Yeah. Okay. So 11 SEK is $1. So pretty close.
Oh, 11 SEK. I never heard of a SEK.
Is $1. Okay, so we multiply.
Someone also mentioned the Landmark Forum, which I'd like to do an episode on. And because I also got involved immersing myself in that.
As of course you would.
I had to get in there. So we'll do something on the forum, maybe combine it with Est and Werner Erhardt, the founder of Est and the forum. Also, Nikola Tesla I stumbled into last night, and Tesla was best friends with Mark Twain and some other great Americans like Edison. So we should do an episode on Tesla, I think.
How about your friend Henry Ford?
It's going to become so crazy. I mean, Ford's been covered so many times. I mean, but Tesla, not so much. Ford, yes.
Oddly.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, oddly.
I know. I mean, the Tesla versus Edison battle, AC versus DC. We could get into that.
Oh, for sure.
I just want to know if Tesla, I'll look this up. I'm just preliminarily looking into it. But did Tesla ever become an American citizen? That's
not sure. But yes, we will be doing the heavy metal movie. One of your.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, Heavy Metal Magazine, which includes the movie.
Right. That's a combo. That's a combo. Yeah. That's kind of an interesting story. Yeah.
That's one of your personal stories. So
there's a little personal in that one. Yeah.
Well, it's like National Lampoon was personal. And
I think I was associate publisher of Heavy Metal. I don't know. I forgot. I think I was something on the masthead, but we didn't focus that much on Heavy Metal because it kind of made its own sauce. But we do have some interesting stories, including the movie.
Somebody's on time. Actually, we do have thoughts on Tucker and Kanye.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, Judy.
And there will be an episode coming up, and not in the way that you think.
No.
It's a different one, but it is very relevant.
Yes, Kanye will be involved in that. So some other powerful men and their wives. This is
very importantly,
ladies
or significant others.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Alert, ladies. This will be significant others of powerful men. And how they got there. Whoop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when we're getting to it, but this reminds
We've been talking about it a while, and it's probably going to be like a trilogy. So it's got to let him eat to it.
So what happens on from now? Okay, so what we're waiting for now, I think we covered everything here with this.
We got this part. Yeah,
okay. We're waiting for somebody to be indicted, and then we can move on to another Baldwin episode, right? Or no? That's kind of where we are.
Yeah. I mean,
at this point, the ball's in their court. I mean,
yes. Ideally, we'll have a Baldwin break.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. Because I've read the DA statements. Andrea Reeb is the special prosecutor. She's delightful. MAGA down there. If she gets to do her job, that would be a fun day in New Mexico to have this MAGA woman, prosecuting some of these anti-MAGA people. That would be a great standoff in Hollywood history. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, in terms of who's going to
if anything happens.
If anything happens, yeah.
I mean, look, it is October 7th. 14 days from today is the anniversary of the event.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, man.
And I hate using the term anniversary, but I don't have another term for marking the date of a tragedy.
I mean, how long could this have taken for one stinking year? I said to you like a month ago, I go, does she wake up every day and just go, let's get into the case again? You know what I mean? Like, why? What other reason other than some nefarious reason, whether it's elections, politics, civil suits being settled, the FBI report, I guess, was the thing, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was that excuse. Then she kicked it to the coroner or whatever.
Now it's the sheriff. Now it's still the sheriff's report.
By the way, that's a new trend because the Marilyn Manson case, you have Gaston saying, "Oh, well, yes, I'm going to look into it as soon as I get it from the sheriff's department." They said, "Here you go." And he said, we need more from the sheriff's department. So it's
we also have this ongoing Danny Masterson Scientology trial here. Not that I'm that concerned about it, but Danny Masterson from the 70s show, of which I did a few episodes in a personal story, his lawyer is now asking the judge to ban the word Scientology from the court criminal proceedings.
Right, which is nutty.
Because of Rick Caruso running the Karen Bass Scientology address commercial that's gone viral in LA in this mayor's race between Rick Caruso, the developer, and Karen Bass, a known Marxist revolutionary who is a congresswoman now running for mayor of LA.
A friend of Scientologists.
A friend of Scientology. And the Bass video I put up on Locals, if you want to see it, it's quite stunning. She's speaking at Big Blue, as they call it, around the corner from me, the Scientology base. And it is quite a devastating commercial by Caruso. And people have reported that they're seeing it. It was running every inning on the Dodger game the other night in between innings. So Masterson, the reason I mention this, who's on charged with criminal rape, being pursued by Gasson, because you mentioned Gasson, the DA. His lawyer has asked for Scientology to be banned from being mentioned in the court case. The ruling hasn't come down yet by the judge, so
I can't see that happening.
Everyone involved is a Scientologist. The victims are Scientologists,
right? So
Masterson, Miscavige is backing Danny Masterson. He's not blown out of the church at all. Miscavige is behind Masterson, saying he's innocent and that he's being charged by X.
No, I mean, look, who knows? Maybe he was hanging out with Danny when things happened.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know the details of the case.
I know nothing about it. Yeah, it's
right. The favorite one is the Kevin Spacey versus Anthony Rapp.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately, I noticed that
he's now 50 years old.
Dude is 60. No, the other guy who just testified.
Rapp is 50, right?
Okay, but he had somebody else just testified today, and I looked. I was 63 years old. What?
Right. This is the craziest case because he's claiming this happened when he was 14 and he's 50 now. So the jury is looking at a 50-year-old man saying this 65-year-old man threw him on a bed, just threw him on a bed at a party. If you read the details of the case.
Yeah, don't get into some YouTube.
I'm not going to get into it at all, but it seems like Spacey has a case here. That's all I got to tell you. That's all. It's crazy. It's a crazy case. It's a spin-off of the Me Too. It's a gay to a Me Too spin-off.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, Spacey, by many accounts, is kind of a creep. And so it's like nobody likes the guy. He's out. Let me see. Super chat thoughts of one on Trump's debt? Probably not. I don't know.
What is that? What is that about Trump's debt?
An episode. I don't.
Trump's debt. No, I don't think
Fred Trump. I don't know that there's that much there.
I don't know if there's an episode there.
Alexi, yes, we are all getting Baldwin fatigue. We hope
we haven't done an episode in a long time. I mean,
right? And we've done 3 in a row. I get it, but again, that was a specific thing
to the events. I mean, we can't control ourselves.
And by the way, if something does drop, we will do a Baldwin episode.
I have a pole in my living room, a fire pole. I slide down the pole into the Baldwin room, like the Bat Cave. So Hunley and I have a special alert that goes off when there's Baldwin news.
Yeah, I mean, and when there's Baldwin news, we send the dumb teddy bear out to.
Oh, wait a minute! What are you trying to pull, Hunley? 2 of us could play that game, Hunley.
Yeah, but only one of us can pull the Oswald.
I think this bear could kill that dog.
No
bear
way.
Versus dog.
No way.
I'm sorry. Groubert could take on Patsy.
Yeah, hell no. But you know what? We can always have them fight each other on locals, on structure.locals.com. And Mark is always looking for more book money at PayPal.
I sent you a link to one of those books. That Jack Parsons autobiography is $278. And I can't buy that book, but I'd love to get that book on PayPal if somebody donates some money a little bit to get that Jack Parsons book.
Good God.
Yeah, no, it's a rare book. I was like, whoa, this was way beyond my means. But yeah, thank for the PayPal book fund. Very thankful that you guys are donating money for the books. I really appreciate it.
And we definitely appreciate the support. I just thinking about it earlier, I will try to put up the Baldwin police stuff and whatever on locals. I think that's a good thing for the paying members to have up there.
There's a lot of stuff there, Eric. I mean, there's a lot of interviews. Remember when
I have
our computers didn't even.
I have about 200 gigabytes of material, so I can't
put it all up. Download it all. It was so big.
I got it all, but I can't put it all up at once. I'm going to have to trickle it out because there's limitations on how much I can upload. But I will definitely start looking at putting that all up in locals. I'd be happy to do that for everyone.
Right. Now, what do we have? Tell me the schedule now, because I'm a little confused as to
what next week is covered. Jack Parsons on Tuesday, Freeform Friday on Friday.
Right.
We're off until the following Friday.
Right.
I believe, because somebody's leaving town.
I think I'm going camping.
Yep. You're looking for some creature in Arizona.
Oh, that's right. I got to go to Prescott. I got to go to Prescott Woods in Arizona and find this creature.
Wait a minute. When are you going camping again?
The 23rd. That's Sunday, whatever that 20.
Oh, okay. So, no.
I'll be back on Friday.
The 28th. No, okay. So
I'm leaving Sunday to go. Whatever that Sunday is, the 22nd or something.
Okay, so hold on. Next Friday will be Freeform Friday
with Robert.
Yes, we don't have anything planned specifically for the 18th. We'll think of something. The 21st is Lord Buckley.
Okay,
and that is going to be the anniversary episode.
Well, when am I going camping?
Show.
Hold on.
You're going the following week.
Hold on, Hunley. Hold on.
Well, you said the 23rd, so I don't
know. I'm going the 23rd Sunday. Yeah. Okay.
So 21st will be Lord Buckley before you leave. And then you come back on the 28th for Amityville Horror.
That'll be a horror.
To close out the month.
That's a tough horror story.
Yeah. And of course, people involved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'll be a good one. I was there for that.
Uh-oh. Secret Squirrel has a demand.
Oh, okay. The Yiddish word of the day. Let's just go with Michigana. Michigana. Just a crazy person, Michigana. Can you say Michigana?
Michigana.
That was pretty good, Hunley. I got to tell you, that was pretty good.
Right.
Hunley's a total Michigana, by the way. And that's to use it in a sentence for those at home. But we'll be getting some more obscure Yiddish words as I dig through my grandmother's diary. They would just pop out. I mean, nobody, my father's mother only spoke Yiddish, and I didn't really hang out with her because she smelled of like fish and weird kind of smells. And like, I didn't really like hanging out with her. She passed away when I was very young, but.
Interesting. Okay. Somebody's saying that Trump is connected to Tesla and the New Yorker, his family. So I don't know.
Well, he's got branches that, I mean, his sister's a federal judge who retired and.
Yeah. But I mean, if I don't know, I'm sure you'll run into it and you'll definitely mention it if you find that.
I don't know about it. I know that Fred Trump built Trump Village, where my entire family moved to when they built Trump Village in Brooklyn and Coney Island. All my relatives moved into Trump Village, built by Fred and by extension Donald, but it was more of a Fred project. It was fantastic. It was middle-class housing, brand new, multiple skyscrapers. I don't know, skyscrapers. They were 24 stories, I think. They're still functioning today. A lot of Russian Jews live there. And it was right in Coney Island, right by you would visit your relatives and you could go floor to floor and see them all. All my relatives moved in there. When that project was opened, it was a great project by Fred Trump, by the way.
Cool. I mean,
and that's why he told Donald repeatedly not to go into Manhattan, that there was enough to build in the boroughs, was what he was trying to teach Donald, who wanted the glitz. So he wanted Studio 54, and whatever he did lifestyle-wise is now history. But his father was trying to drive into his thick skull that there's plenty of money and
probably more money, or easier
to negotiate. Yeah, like that project, there was nothing there, next to Coney Island and Seagate, and then they built this, and now it's still there. It's still there.
Yeah.
And I got to grow up in Coney Island and go on the bumper cars and go with my grandfather to get a Charlotte Russe and go to Nathan's and get hot dogs at Nathan's with the fries. And I wish I had it right now, but it was so close to where Trump Village is, what I mean.
Well, awesome. I envy your youth in that. I was out in the desert.
That being said,
see everybody. I'll see you tomorrow if you're on Locals. I'm doing my weekly chill stream, grill stream. Then Jack Parsons on Tuesday.
So. Jack Parsons, I think, is an interesting, because it's a spin-off of Hubbard in a way. We're going to touch lightly. I don't want to get buried in Aleister Crowley because he's not an American, but they're kind of linked Parsons. And I have not found Anton LaVey in there. And I knew his grandson, Stanton LaVey. But people have always said that Parsons, LaVey, and Hubbard were together. I could find very little of the three of them together. Hubbard and Parsons were very, very, very close. And we'll get into that during the episode.
All right. Look forward to it, and have a fantastic evening, everyone.